Welcome to my species spotlight, and today's spotlight, as you see, is going to be about the cockatiel. Did you know the cockatiel was one of the most popular of the parrot family, with their main competition being the budgie? They are prized household pets and companions throughout the world. They are very social, hardy, and easy to handle changes within the home. And they're not too noisy like the larger parrots, like say a cockatoo or a macaw. And they're easy to tame and easy to breed. Cockatiels love to be social with every member of the family. And they're very, very playful. And they love to sing songs, especially the male. They do a lot of whistling. Now the males can really whistle a tune. If you go on YouTube here and search cockatiel singing, you'll see them all. Monty here has a video right here on my channel from about 10 years ago. When I got him, he already sung a song, and it's apparently a song from The Sound of Music. So I'll put the link below in the description, and you can go have a look at that, and maybe he'll sing for us today. Cockatiels can even say a few words. I mean, they're not the best talker in the world of the parrot family, but they can say some words. You'll see on YouTube as well. You can search that. And mine don't say a word though. They sing, especially Monty. He likes to still sing, right? They're not really loud, like too loud, but they can be persistent. Like Monty here, he can say the same tune over and over and over again. Did you know that the cockatiel is a member of the cockatoo family? I can see why, because they have the crest there, just like the cockatoo. But they're the only small parrot that has that crest. So the crest, it can move up and down. It can go straight up. It can go just slightly back, or it can go right against the head. When it goes up, it just means that they're alert, they got startled, or they want to see something. But when it's kind of in the middle, like kind of flat, they're content and feeling okay. When it goes straight flat back, they can be either being aggressive or just being a little bit angry. So usually you can read a cockatiel by its crest. You can read its moods. If he's happy, mad, or startled by the crest. Monty, see, that's being aggressive. He wants to bite me. See it? Oh, that's not nice for the camera. Actually, did you see that? I don't know why he's trying to bite me, but his crest is going right back to the back of his skull because he wants to bite me. Thank you, Monty. Thank you so much. Now, cockatiels, they can hiss and they can spit. Their hissing sounds like a snake. It's just their way of warning, giving you a warning to stay back when they hiss. And sometimes they rock back and forth. They're hissing, kind of like a cobra snake, and they spit. So just back off when they're in that mood. They don't want you near them, and they're frightened, scared, or being aggressive. Now cockatiels, they like to be petted, and they'll let you know. They'll lower their head and they'll point, like put their head where they want to be petted. Like my cockatiels like to be, let's see, you see that? That's what they do. So when they do that, they want to be petted, and sometimes they do that, but then they'll nibble on you because you're hitting the wrong spot, or you hit like a pin feather or just something that bothers them. But they will lower their head, good boy, and let you pet them. Mine like to be petted on the cheeks and just under the lower part of the beak here. Oh, sweetie. Come on, stay there. Your nails are really sharp. Yes, they are. Good boy. See how the crest goes back? It's when they're content. And sometimes they really like this crest to be rubbed like this. There we go. And sometimes when you're petting them, they'll just give you a little nibble or a bite. Some days they want you to pet them, but you're just not doing it right. So Monty here does that. He stopped doing that. He always puts his head down. I go to pet him and he'll bite me. So I just, can kind of read his mood, and I won't pet him. I can put my fingers still, and then he'll put his head where he wants to be petted. If he wants to be petted here, he'll just move his head to my finger, because if I touch him on that side, he'll get angry. So you just got to kind of figure out your cockatiel and where they want to be petted. Now cockatiels come in a lot of different color mutations. Now in the wild they are gray and they're native to Australia, but has cockatiels became in the pet trade, breeders have been breeding different colors. There's all kinds of colors. The original one is gray, like Monty here. And then there's the pied, like Stormy. There's pearl pied, there's pearl. There's white, different white ones. There's yellow ones, Latino, albino. There's silver ones now. There's cinnamon. There's all kinds of different colors and markings. It's unbelievable. Now if you're trying to sex your cockatiel, it's easy with the normal grays, because with the normal grays you see they have a yellow head and they have orange cheeks. In the males the yellow is brighter and the orange cheeks are brighter. The female will have less yellow head and the cheeks here, the orange part, will be not as bright. But if you want to know the sex, you can do a DNA test on your bird. You can have the avian vet do the DNA test. And another way is you can tell by their behavior. You can see the males are more, I should say, not noisy, but they sing a lot and they do the dancing. If you show him a mirror, you see, if I showed him a mirror right now, he would go like do all kinds of stuff. He's trying to bite me now. But the females are quiet. If you want a quiet bird, like a quiet cockatiel, get a female. I used to have one many years ago. She didn't make a peep, but they will make some noise. But the males, they're more chatty and they do the dance. And yeah, so you can do the DNA test, see how they act. And well, if they lay an egg, it's a female. So there you go, that's easy. Now the cockatiel can live between 15 and 25 years. Some have lived longer. I've heard of cockatiels living into the 30s, sometimes 40s. But the average is 15 to 25 years. And they weigh on average about 90 grams. They're about 12 to 14 inches from the head to the tail. And they are sexually mature between 12 and 24 months. Cockatiels are one of the 3 commonly kept parrots that produced white powdery dander. You might have seen it. He just shook, even you could see it. They got a very powdery dander. The other birds are the African gray. They have a lot of white powdery dander, and the cockatoo. So if you have allergies, I highly suggest that you research first and maybe visit some cockatiels and see if it affects you. And if you have allergies, you got to be careful. You should have a HEPA filter near them, because it can really affect your breathing and your respiratory system, especially if you have more than one, even more than 2. If you have way more, it's going to affect your respiratory system. Or if you have asthma, it'll worsen the symptoms of asthma. So just be careful if you're thinking about getting a cockatiel. They're very dusty birds. Now the cockatiel produces the white fine dust, and you'll notice it'll be all over the cage. It'll be on the perches. The perches will be white. When you change the water, when I change their water, I see like a coating of white dust on top of it. Even in their food bowls, their toys. You have to do a lot of cleaning with these birds. A lot of any bird you have to do cleaning, but especially the cockatiel with the dust, because it's going to get into the air. It's going to get in your, on your furniture, on the floors, on the walls. Hi, baby. And what I do is I wash my perches. I put them in hot water and I use a scrub brush. When I see the perches are white, or if they're dirty, of course, I clean them. And I gotta change the water sometimes twice a day whenever it's full of that dust. And you wanna change the food often. The toys, you can shake them out. What do you do, Monty? You can shake out the toys. And what I do for my cockatiels is I have an air filter right below their cage, and that does help with the dust. I clean out the air filter as often as I can, because otherwise the dust will be everywhere. So you would just want to use caution with a cockatiel and their dust. Hi, sweetie. Good boy. The dust comes from white powdered down feathers that grow close to the bird's skin. And when the bird preens, it spreads the dust all throughout the body. And that's why you notice, they're going to shake. Did you see that? I saw dust. I'm going to sneeze. When your bird shakes, you'll see like a ring of dust in the air. It just looks so dusty. So they're full of dust, and the bird always just spreads it around while they're preening all over the bird's body. That's why it's good to mist your bird with water and make sure that they're provided a bath, just to cut down on the dust. And I find when they're molting that the dust is worse. Cockatiels molt around 2 to 3 times a year. Now they just lose a few feathers at a time during about 2 to 3 weeks it will take, and new feathers will grow back. As one feather is lost, a new feather will grow back. And when they're molting, they're a little bit more stressed than usual. They can be more grumpy because, you know, it might be itchy. There's pin feathers that go around the face. Have you ever seen these little things that look like quills? They're called pin feathers. And then usually just around the face and then top of the head and a crest, you'll see these little, like, they look like porcupine quills. They're called pin feathers. And when the bird preens itself, that's a little shaft that comes off of it, and you'll see then the feathers underneath that. Sometimes you can help them by just petting them, and lightly you can pull it off, and then the new feather, you'll see the beautiful new feather. So new feathers will grow and your bird will look brighter. Oh, you like that, huh? Right now, Stormy and Monty are going through a molt. I want to show you their feathers. Okay, I saved some of the feathers for you to see. These are the feathers I've been finding on the bottom of the cage around the floor. And it looks like they've lost some of their tail feathers and maybe their flight feathers. They got really long ones. And here's some, they're falling down, little small ones. Hopefully you can see that. And look, all different colors because they're all different colors. Gray one. And lots of small ones here. There's probably a downy feather in here. I think this is one. You see how fluffy they are? I'm sure this is where these are the powder down feathers. They're really soft. I bet you if I rub my fingers on it, I might get some powder, but I've had them in the bag for a little while. I just want to show you something too about the feather. Monty, you see the feather? Is it blurry? I hope it's not blurry. Anyways, this is the feather shaft. It's hollow. It looks like a straw, right? And then you got the feathers here. This is like a straw. So that falls out of the body, and then a new one grows. And when the new one grows, there's blood in here in this shaft. So it's called a blood feather. So once the feather fully grows, the blood recedes and there's no more blood. So you have to use caution, especially on a cockatiel, because they get night frights and they can flop around and break that feather. If a blood feather breaks, you're going to have a bleeding bird. I do have a video on a blood feather from my budgie that I'll put the card above here. I'll put the link below. You can go check that out, how I had to pull one of my budgie's blood feather because he was bleeding. And it could be the matter, you know, a life or death of your bird. If you leave a feather bleeding, if it doesn't clot, they can bleed out. So always use caution. If you see your bird bleeding, either learn how to pull the feather yourself, which is very, very simple. You can see my video, or take it to an avian vet. But sometimes if your avian vet is far, it takes many hours, it's too late. I've heard of stories where birds have bled to death. It's too late. It's very simple. You just got to find the feather that's broken and pull it with hemostats or even tweezers. So you go check out that video, and that way you'll know if it ever happens to you. Because believe me, it always happens in the middle of the night or on a weekend or a holiday. Always. That's what happened with my bird. It never happens when the vets are open anyways. But I know how to pull them. So just takes a moment to pull them, but you do have to catch the bird, hold your bird properly. If you don't know what you're doing, just don't do it. Try to get to the closest vet that you can to pull the feather or clot it. So as I was saying, cockatiels are prone to night fright, especially the Lutino bird. I've read a lot of studies on that. If you look it up on night frights and the Lutino cockatiel, they seem to be prone to the night frights. And what it means is in the nighttime, your cockatiel just starts freaking out and thrashing, banging back and forth in its cage, and then his feathers will break, and that's when they bleed, and everything goes wild, and you have to calm them down, turn the lights on. So it's best to, if you do cover your cockatiels, use a light blanket, and don't cover all the cage. And you can also use a night light. That way they can see, just in case they're frightened. And something they can be frightened of is if you have pets, like a cat or a dog, and they happen to walk under the cage when it's dark, they're going to be afraid because they're thinking, you know, they're going to get attacked, right? You don't want that happening. So make sure you put your bird's cage where there is no other pets and where they can sleep nicely. I've hardly had any night frights because I do have a bird room that nobody, you know, goes in, and I'm very cautious. I do have a night light. They do get covered, but I make sure my dogs do not go near the cage, and we don't bother our birds at night, so they're okay. Once in a blue moon it will happen, and you just got to check them for that, any bleeding feathers. So just look that up for night frights for cockatiels. If you're interested in getting a cockatiel or you have one and it's happened to you, it's very common with the cockatiel, especially the Lutino cockatiel. Cockatiels are really good flyers. They can fly very, very fast and far, top speed. Now, if you're thinking of clipping your bird's wings or have them clipped, always use caution if you're bringing them outside, which I don't recommend, because a clipped cockatiel can fly very far. Especially if it's windy outside, the wind will just take them. I've seen it happen. I've seen it. I heard their stories. They can fly very, very far, especially if one or two of the flight feathers grow back. They're gone. So use the harness or put your bird outside in a cage. And yeah, if you clip your wing, their wings, they can still get around. Like Stormy here, he just has the flight feathers on the one wing, and he gets around just fine. He flies sometimes a little bit slower than Monty, of course, but he can get to point A to point B. So they're very strong flyers, so just keep that in mind if you're going to take your bird outside, which don't. Just use a harness, okay? Much safer. So now I'm going to go into how I care for my cockatiels, and I want to introduce you to my birds. I haven't really introduced you to them. So this is Stormy. He's 10 years old. He's a male, and he's a pied cockatiel. Now, have you noticed he only has flight feathers on one feather, or one wing, sorry. He doesn't have them here. He was kind of like that when I got him, and he just has enlarged follicles on the one side, so the feathers have never grew back. He can still fly. Come on, sweetie. Okay. Up. No? He can still fly. They're pretty strong flyers, and it doesn't seem to bother him, but he gets around really good. And this is Monty. I'm not going to pick him up because he's a little bit hormonal right now or something. And maybe he'll step up. Monty, turn around. Hello. Come on, up. Oh, what a good boy. There he goes. So this is Monty. He's a gray male cockatiel, and he's 12 years old. I got him from someone else who didn't want him anymore, or couldn't have him anymore. So he's like my second-hand bird, or a rescue bird, whatever you call him. But he's not really a rescue. I just got him from somebody else. Oh, he's letting me pet him. Look, he's probably gonna bite me too. What a good boy. Oh, you didn't bite me. Yay. So that's Stormy, and that's Monty. Now I'm going to show you how I care for them. Okay, so Monty and Stormy have their own cages. They used to be together. They used to be in my favorite cage, which is the HQ flight cage. They used to be together. Now they're 10 and 12 years old now. This was about a few years ago. They were together, and then they started to fight. So if you're thinking of getting two birds, or you have two birds, you know, one day there could be a fight. I recommend you always have an extra cage, or just keeping them separate and letting them out together, because they non-stop are fighting. And they're fine out of the cage. Sometimes they squabble, and they miss each other. If one goes too far, they call each other, but they want their own space. It's like their own bedroom. You know, you got friends and you got brothers, sisters. You don't want them in your bedroom, right? In the house, or you're going out to play or whatever, that's fine. But you go in your bedroom, you want your own space. So that's what I recommend for most birds, to have their own cage, and they can come out together to play. So their cage is 24 by 24. And cockatiels need a pretty big cage. They got a long tail. You don't want to get their tail, you know, rubbed in against the bar. I would say the minimum size cage, and depending on how much you let your bird out. If your bird is out all day, you can go with an 18 by 18 size cage, but that's kind of small because you have to fit in all the toys and different perches and food and whatnot. But if they're out all day, that's a fine size. But if they're in a little bit more, like my birds are out all day, but I like to give them big cages as well. So they got the 24 by 24, like the HQ flight cage was much bigger, but the two of them were in there. So now they're just one in there. So there's plenty of room for their perches. I have different size perches and different textures, different woods, perches in their cage. And they have toys, some shredding toys. They do have some mineral blocks for their beaks. And then I got the stainless steel bowls. I don't really like to use plastic too much because that can hold bacteria. So stainless steel are a nice bowl to have, and it's easy to clean, and they don't really carry too much bacteria because they can't really stick in the steel like it can with the plastic bowls. Then they get their water, and I use plain newsprint on the bottom of the cage. I don't use a grate because I don't want their feet to get stuck in the grate and break their legs or anything. I do change their paper every day. Keep it clean, especially when they're molten. You'll see all the feather and the dust. And because they're very dusty, you really need to clean a lot. And then I'll spot clean their cage, when necessary, clean their perches, anything that's dirty. And once a week I'll take the whole tray, I'll put it in the tub, and I'll really rinse that with hot water and clean everything off. And their cages are on stands. I can wheel them outside if they want to go. If I bring them outside, I can wheel them outside. So I really like that cage with the stand. It's on wheels. And it has a flat top as well. You can put a play stand on top of that. But my birds have the whole room to fly, and I have all these perches and whatnot up on my ceiling that they fly to. They go over there and they hang out and they fly back and forth in my bird room, and they crawl in and out of each other's cage, and they have good exercise that way. Now I feed my cockatiels a lot of fresh food. They get fresh food every day, every morning. I give them greens. I usually give them the spring mix or romaine lettuce, the kale, anything that I have in my fridge. I always mix it up. They like broccoli, corn, even pieces of apple, pieces of grape, berries, the blueberries, strawberries. They eat brown rice, quinoa, the whole works. I give whatever I have, and they get that, and they really like it. And they do get a small amount of cockatiel mix, and then they get pellets. I give them 2 different types, and I give them the Australian blend, so they're always eating something different. And they do get millet once a week. They get the millet as well, and fresh water. So they don't eat, don't ever give your birds like onions, and don't give avocados, don't give them sweets, nothing salty, and no peanuts. If you're going to give many peanuts, you can use almonds or walnuts, any tree nuts. No peanuts. Those peanuts in the shell, like those you gotta crack open. They grow in the ground, so they can carry bacteria or fungus. They carry fungus. Don't give them those. Many birds have gotten sick from those, so it's not safe for them. So you got a lot of other foods and peanuts or nuts to choose from. But I find cockatiels don't really eat a lot of nuts anyways. I give little almonds here and there, but they don't really care for it as much as my other birds, like my Senegal and my ringneck. Also, when I feed my birds, I can add some sesame seeds or chia seeds. I can also, or you can also, make some chop. Chop is basically just chopping up any kind of food you're going to feed them. It just depends on how big the pieces are. I've made chop before, but I find my birds prefer the way I feed them now. I do make chop because it's really time consuming, so I just kind of grab it in my fridge and put it together. But sometimes I'll make the chop. I'll get all kinds of different stuff, chop it up small, and then you can make a big batch and put it in your freezer, and then take out a bag that you're going to use for that day. You can defrost it the night before and give it to them in the morning. And then you can add other stuff to the chop, like say some apple, just to get them to eat it. And actually chop is really fun. When I have time, I do make them chop as well. Cockatiels do need vitamin A, so just do research which foods provide that for them, such as carrots, sweet potatoes, bell peppers, endive, and there's more. And it does, keep them healthy. Now, caring for your cockatiel, like health-wise, would be that they'll need their nails clipped occasionally. You can get them like a petty perch or a perch that helps with the nails, but always put the perch down low. You don't want it up high because that's where they sleep and they'll sit on it all night. It'll hurt their feet. So just put it down low where they occasionally step on it, like maybe in front of a water bowl or food bowl, down lower, but never put it high, because if they sit on something really rough, it's going to hurt their feet. So that might help the nails, but occasionally you're going to have to get their nails clipped. And if you do clip the wings, you'll need that done too. So you can get it done by your avian vet or find a professional bird groomer. And usually the bird groomers are a little bit less expensive than the vet would be, but just do your research and call around and see what's more affordable. Because usually at the vets, when you bring them for that, they actually do an examination too. So that's a bonus. That's a good thing. This is what I do actually. I go to the avian vet and they can do a checkup. Now you can actually, it's good to get an avian vet, one that you want to see when you first get a bird. You want to take your bird there and you can get the blood test to check for any diseases that they have, that they might not, hopefully they don't have, that they, you know, you want to rule out if they do have any diseases. You get their fecal checked, and that way you got a base. So if your cockatiel ever gets sick, or once a year when you go to the vet, you have a base and you can compare the blood work to the previous blood work. And also, come on sweetie, if your bird is ever sick, it's best to have an avian vet, because sometimes if you haven't been to them, they don't know you and they won't take you. So if you, you know, get your avian vet and you go there often, they know you, they'll hopefully take you in when you have a problem with your bird. So before you get a bird, make sure you know where your avian vets are. Also, you want to be careful of what you use around your birds. You don't want to use Teflon pans. If that burns or overheats, the fumes can kill your birds. You don't want to use candles, like any plug-ins, any aerosols. If you smoke cigarettes or wacky stuff, don't do it around your birds, because the fumes will obviously go into their lungs and it'll affect, they could die, anything. You don't want to use anything around your birds, like nothing. Like don't clean with Windex or Mr. Clean or whatever, any cleaning products. Use bird safe products. There is called Poop Off, I think. I use that. Just make sure it's bird safe products, that you're cleaning your cage and the surrounding areas around them. So basically your house is going to smell because you can't use all that stuff, but it's bad for you too. You don't want to be breathing in all that stuff, right? You can air out your house. There's other ways to make your house smell nice by boiling some items. I don't know what they are, like cinnamon sticks, I'm not sure, but do your research and you can just boil some stuff and make sure your birds are in the cage, of course, because you don't want them falling into the boiling pot of water, and that's another danger thing. And another danger thing is if you have ceiling fans, make sure your bird's in the cage when your ceiling fans are on. I've heard many stories of birds flying and hitting their head on the ceiling fan. So that's another danger for birds. And you want to close your toilet lids, because they can go in there and they can drown. No boiling water. Just anything you think will be dangerous for your bird. That's why I have a bird room, because you know, it makes me feel better where they're safe in my bird room. But if you don't have a bird room and they're in your house, you know, you got a lot of dangers to think about. So maybe make sure you bird proof your home and the room that that your bird is in, just to keep them safe. I've seen many stories, especially, you know, other animals too, like cats. You got to be careful. Even dogs, they can get your bird and they can, you know, do nasty things to them. You don't want that. So yeah, a lot of safety issues when you own birds, right buddies? Yeah, we try to be safe here, don't we? So overall, the cockatiel is a nice little bird to have. They're very social. They like to hang out with everybody in the family. They like to learn to whistle some tunes, and that's really neat. There's a lot of birds here on YouTube. If you search it, they sing the Addams Family song. I think it's hilarious. The cockatiels. What are you doing? They look so cute. But make sure you check out Monty's video of him singing from a song from The Sound of Music. I'm going to put the link down below. I'll also put the link of their cages, the cages I have. I'm going to put the link below. Monty, what are you trying to eat me? I'm going to put that down below. I'll put anything bird or cockatiel related down below. I want to thank you very much for watching. Are you guys going to jump on me now? Stormy, you want to come on my shoulder too? Watch this. They're probably going to fight behind my back. Just don't poo on me, okay? So I want to thank you very much for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Just hit that bell icon there. That way you'll get notified of my next upcoming videos. And we're going to see you in the next video. And thanks again. I appreciate all your views and all your watching. And check out my Species Spotlight series. I'm going to put it right over here of my other birds. If you're looking to see what kind of bird you want, you can check out my other videos. Hey, bye!